invite our esteemed guest to grace the occasion by lighting the lamp.
Very good. First of all, I thank to our Eternal Hospital and then the organizer team for inviting me for this. I am Dr. Joseph Alexis from the south end, from Pondicherry, 2,500 kilometers away. Just coming to, I am going to not giving a full lecture. It's a whatever in our CSSD, what we learned, just for exploration, just you want to also know. It may be different from your hospital, but it's a knowledge exchange. Okay? Can we go? It's fine? Yes. Just few slides about our institution. This is a Jawaharlal Nehru Institute of Medical Research Hospital. It's in the Pondicherry under Government of India. It's a government hospital. Actually, it's a 2,500 bedded hospital, but we have another one branch. It's have some 250 2,500 bedded hospital. All multi specialties we have, and then in the CSSD, it's established in 1966. Okay, almost this is the oldest one in the South India, I think so. Okay, currently 59 years old CSSD. And then we have 85 employees there in our CSSD. This is inaugurated in 1996 by Government of India. We are handling around 1,300 items per day. For sterilization per day, per month, we are 1,500, around more than 50 to 80 cycles of steam sterilization we are doing per day. Okay, for plasma around 30 to 50 cycles per day. In ETO 3 to 5 cycles. This is our workload of CSSD. We have 913 liters capacity of steam sterilizers, 11 we had. And then ETO sterilizer 3 numbers in 450 liters, and then plasma, washer, disinfector, ultrasonic and everything. Because a huge volume, we have a manpower of around 80 per manpowers. We have it. This is for short introduction. Okay. Actually, this CSSD started. Recently, one person retired from our hospital who from beginning for steam sterilizer for making steam. You want to steam, and now we have electrical steam. In this old days, they make a firewood, they make a steam. This steam is used for sterilization. It is in 1966. Okay, that is the previous generation, but it's new entirely, lot of scientifics there. We updated all this. Now, sterilization is very important aspect in any hospital. Why it is very important? Why it is very important? Any one point from audience? Why it is very important? CSSD? Yeah. It's a what? Not only from surgical department. I agree, ma'am. Especially for surgical departments to control infections. That is for even for general ward, ICUs, OTs, everywhere. That is very important aspect. So CSSD is playing a backbone of our hospital infection. Are you agree? Yes. So we have to understand the basic scientific approach, how the CSSD is running. Okay. In any hospital, we are handling about, before going to the session, any one person from our audience, can you tell, we are practicing steam sterilization, plasma, ETO, dry heat and other methods also there, LTSF also there. Which one is the best? It's for just open question. Steam sterilization. Nowadays, plasma.
Is, nothing is this. In fact, depends on the requirement and depending on your product.
That is the very correct answer. Because what is sterilization? What is sterilization? We are killing or removing all living organisms. All this sterilization procedures is doing the same, whether in the steam or ETO or plasma, everything is doing everything is doing the same. So there is a no which is best or which is it's not it. But the process of killing is different. Okay, the process of killing is different one. Okay, that is the one take home message. It's not plasma is superior, steam is superior, ETO is not superior. The process is different. So if you are choosing a correct material to the correct sterilization method, it will give you a better results. If you are changing it, you won't get that much of sterilization assurance. Okay, that is the first message to you. Can you read it? Steam sterilization will spoil the stainless steel instruments for minute instruments. Yes or no? My instruments is 100% stainless steel. So I am worrying about putting into the steam. So I am preferring to plasma. Anyone supporting my?
There's of the instrument, cutting instrument in the OP, but it is the best for the such instruments like is it instruments.
That's
It
right.
is the sharpness.
It is.
It is the sharpness of the instruments.
Is it true or false?
So we are bothered about corrosion, and corrosion will not take place with the stainless steel. So I don't think any that will.
Almost you are very nice. I didn't expect this much of feedback. Actually, the steam sterilization, the corrosiness you are talking now, it's not to the sterilization process. What water we are using? Okay, water quality is important. Okay, sterilization machine will be a very good, but if you are using a water, okay, bad, it will corrode. So if you corrected the water quality, then it won't spoil your stainless steel element. As madam said, it will sharpen. Okay, so this is the one scientific thought. Can stainless steel instruments linen to be sterilized in the EO in our hospital? Any CSSDs persons? Can linen, our aprons and everything can be sterilized in a hospital EO machine? Yes. Any other option? But whenever I'm seeing the product with gowns and everything from I'm buying from the markets, you just see it is EO sterilized. Am I right? OT gowns, gloves, whatever the items, if it is I'm buying from the market, sterilization is by EO. If they are doing, why we can't able to do?
Because the EO will be absorbed in the linen and remain for quite some time. So we should not use, otherwise we cannot use the layer.
Yes. The all possible answers, sir, is we are getting from the sir. It's very kind of user. It's very wonderful answers. Any other doubts, you can please ask me. Okay. So it's not because of sterilization process. If ETO, the remaining ETO, no, that sterilizing agent, it will absorb and attach to the materials. If it is plastic, it will release easily. But in linens and everything, it will take too much of time. So aeration supposed to be proper. Okay. So commercially manufacturers supposed to do the proper aeration. Okay. Whether they are doing or not, I think Mr. Joachim, he will talk about more this. So it can be sterilized, but aeration supposed to be very longer time. In generally, we are not practicing in our hospital machines. Okay. That is for pharmacological, pharmacovigilance. 100% stainless steel instruments, ideal to be sterilized in the plasma. 100% sterilized. How many of you voting? 100% stainless steel instruments, we can put in plasma. Agree or disagree? Otherwise, I will give you an option to you. Steam, plasma.
Stainless.
If it is long neck and narrow hole instruments,
Yes.
so it is better to go for the plasma.
Plasma? If it is a lengthy one.
Yeah, if it is long neck, very less bore size instruments, better go to plasma. Or if it is other instruments with the SS, you can go for the autoclave.
Even that everything will be the lengthy instruments and everything. It is made up of 100% stainless steel.
Yeah.
No other material. Now, what is the choice?
If it is अगर बहुत लंबे हमारे पास स्कोप्स के लंबी नेक है और उनमें वेरी नेरो होल इज देयर बोर होल इज देयर गो फॉर द प्लाज्मा
So, you are telling if it is something hollow instruments, plasma will penetrate better.
yeah
That is
yeah
your point.
actually power and the plasma is penetrated better in the narrow lumen size instrument.
That is. Any other comments? Anyone?
I think steam can penetrate, so there is no point in going for. I think steam can very well penetrate if the instruments are not very complicated. So I think there is no point in going for plasma unless until it is as recommended by the manufacturer.
Because problem in the washing disinfection first step cleaning of that narrow
That is cleaning is different, ma'am.
Yeah.
Every instrument supposed to be cleaned properly. If it is not cleaned properly, if some mud is there, if you are putting the same thing instruments in the sterilizer, it's make nothing. We can call it a sterile mud maybe. Okay, but it will after sterilization it will give an infection. So cleaning is a basic. That is not the problem, ma'am. That I want to tell. Anything? Can you please give a mic to him?
Better that we use steam was if we penetrate and even it is a locker or it will penetrate with you. Sir, the option it is better to use a steam thing because it will penetrate in a bigger hollow tube so that every infection and all those are used.
The correct best answer is a steam sterilization is the best. As Sir said, the steam penetration will be
The cost involved. The cost involved with plasma is higher, so we have to think about that also.
so not only the cost, the best practice is steam. In plasma, what is the problem is penetration of the sterilizing agent, especially inside. It's have a different principles. So supposed to be a steam. Okay. If anything wrong from our external speakers, you please clarify. I am not telling I am 100% correct. Okay. It's a sharing of knowledge. Anyone having a different knowledge or this thing, you please discuss. Okay. Questions over. We can go for some principles. Okay. Can you please stop me if my time is. Okay. So, no. Handle it. Because other speakers waiting. Okay, fine. Any sterilization procedures, 3 things supposed to be needed. We need one sterilizing agent. Okay. In steam sterilization, what is the sterilizing agent? In steam sterilizer, what is the sterilizing agent is? Which one? Moist steam. Steam.
No. It's correct to say moisture. It needs to be wet, liquid, water. Congratulations.
Yeah. Congratulations. You told the word moisture. Okay. Perfect word. Instead of the steam, it's the correct word is moisture. Moisture inside the sterilizer. After post-sterilization, moisture is the enemy. Okay. Because it's prone infection. We will see that. In ETO, sterilizing agent is ethylene oxide. Why they preferred a lot of gases there? Why they preferred ethylene? ETO? Anyone idea? Lot of gases there. Why they preferred ethylene oxide? Even though it is a good gas? Then why? Yeah, carcinogenic and then everything. But why they preferred ETO?
Penetration.
Huh?
Penetration is better.
Yeah.
Penetration is better.
Yeah.
Sterilization is a very better at the temperature. The low temperature. Apply to the here.
Yeah, it's correct only, ma'am. Because steam sterile principle is over 100 years, 200 years old. We are very born, all surgical instruments, everything will be stainless steel. So we have a better mechanism to sterilize the instruments. When plastic arises, 1950, okay, some 70 years, that is 100 to 200 years back the steam. Okay, now we got a one very high temperature sterilization, but we need for plastic to sterilize, we need some alternative. Then only this ETO comes. It will directly penetrate the plastics. For that property only we are choosing a ethylene oxide. Then plasma is a, what is the sterilizing agent? Hydrogen peroxide. See, for steam sterilizer, ETO sterilizer. So for hydrogen peroxide, supposed to be called as a hydrogen peroxide sterilizer, na? Why they are using plasma? Why the word is coming plasma?
Because the plasma
Yeah, that is a one type. It's a field is a plasma. It's a fourth metal that we will discuss little later. Okay, see any steam, any sterilization principles, be clear. There will be supposed to be a sterilizing agent, then the proper sterilization time is needed, then pre-conditioning, post-conditioning. This is very important. Okay, we will discuss one by one. Okay, everyone may know for steam sterilization, even in ETO also, vacuum is very important. Am I right? Vacuum is important. Are you running any non-vacuum gravity dependent machines?
for disinfection of waste.
I am talking about the sterilization, madam. That is that. Are we using anything for sterilization purpose? Why we have to remove air? It's a mandatory. It's a mandatory. We have to remove air. Why? Without removing air, can we do it? Can any one answer why we have to remove air? For example, it's a sterilization chamber is there. Already it is inside, the air is inside. Additionally, you are putting a steam inside. Okay. What will happen inside? It is a mixture of air and steam. Which is lighter, which is heavier?
Spirit lighter.
So, steam will accumulate in the upper part. Lower part is a mixture of air and steam. Okay. So, here sterilizing agent is steam and moisture, not a dry air. Okay. So, whenever you are loading, the upper part will be, sterilization part will be too good, lower part will be less. To avoid this everything, you give a full vacuum. Now it's fully vacuum. Whenever you are putting into the steam, what will happen? The steam is entering into everywhere, especially the lumens. If it is the luminal instruments, it's packed with the air. For putting a steam, it may be the outer end, may be the steam, but inner side it will be the air. Here sterilizing agent is the steam and moisture, so it won't happen inside. That's why we are removing the. How many pulses supposed to be given? 1, 2, 3. 3. Anyone can you give your answer why 3? Why not 4? Why not 1? Why they put a 3? There will be a different calculation is there. I maybe other speakers may talk, because if you are taking too much of time, then it will be very this thing. So standard is the 3 pulses supposed to be done it. Okay. In first, almost 76% of air will be removed. Okay. Then second time, then additionally, then third almost 90, more than 90% it will be removed. So after fourth, fifth, sixth, then there will be no much increase. It may be very less. So we are going for 3 pulses. Then after that, we are making a sterilization time in this. Okay. Okay. Now I am asking question. The running a steam sterilizer, okay, pressure is there, temperature is there, okay, it will be a true friends, okay, whenever the temperature and then this thing will be very true friends. We are operating steam sterilizers, otherwise I will do a different scenario. Actually here there is two type of injuries. One person is directly putting his hand in the burns. Another one person is hot coffee or water him. There are two burns, okay, which will give you a more injury. Anyone? Dry or this? Dry? Wet. Why? Why?
Dry heat.
Penetration?
Moist heat is more than the dry.
Yes. Moist heat is it will deeper the tissue. Okay, it will go deeper. So all cells will be dying. So for killing purposes, this moist heat is better for killing. Even our own cells also, for mycobacterium also. Okay. There is a standard is there for steam quality. Okay, because the steam is a sterilizing agent. So steam have a quality is there. I think standards of this thing. The dryness value. There will be three type of steam: saturated, superheated, unsaturated. Everything is there. Saturated steam is our ideal one. Am I right, sir? Saturated steam is the ideal one we are using for it. Okay. Anyone please answer for this question. For steam sterilizers, you are operating in the two mode. 121 mode, 134 mode. Am I right? Why can't you operate 130 or 131 or 135, 136?
Question on the fixed tile service.
My question is, ma'am, why they are operating only these two?
Boiling temperature of the water.
At the particular pressure, this is the boiling temperature of the water.
Is this a boiling temperature of the water?
Under the pressure.
Under pressure? Is it, that is, madam, it's a partially, it's related to that. Anyone please? In your sterilizer machine, anyone? Why can we operate why can't we operate 136 or 130? Why?
So as you said, the temperature is related to pressure. So it's directly proportional. So when you have this temperature, naturally the pressure which is designed for the machine as well as to other conditions, that is maximum.
Sir, it's a
1 So in that the temperature will be 121. So especially there are two temperatures over here. So actually it is directly we count as a buoyance now. It is directly to the temperatures. As my pressure will increase, my temperature will also increase. So this is directly everything with that. So 1 bar would be 121 degree, and a second one 134 would be a 2 bar. So there are only two temperatures exist in the sterilization.
rightly said. Actually, we are not operating at temperature in the steam sterilizers. We are operating the pressures. We are operating the pressures at 1 bar. It's a normal temperature. It's a normal pressure, normal atmospheric pressure. If we are steam sterilizers, we are operating by pressure, not the temperature. There will be no switch in this sterilizer like we can increase 121, 132, not like that. It's a pressure based. If you are 1 bar pressure, if you are achieving, temperature and pressure is a close friends. At 1 bar pressure, the temperature will be 121. 2 bar pressure, the temperature is 134. Understood? So we are operating the machine by pressure, 1 bar pressure, 2 bar pressure. Okay, that's why it's relating to the temperature. That's why it's a standard one. I think you got the point. Huh? Okay.
Time contact is according to that.
The time is different, sir. Time contact is a different one. Huh? Okay. So I will go through quickly. While doing a steam sterilization, time is very important. Temperature, moisture, condensation, and then air removal, drying is every component is important. For example, this D value, I think our colleague will take you. So I will just bypass the D value, decimal reduction value. I will just bypass it. Our doctor will take. If temperature is increases, duration will be reduced. It's a one basic standard. For example, the lower one 80 degrees Celsius, it will take 643. But if it is going for a 132, 0.9 means if temperature increases, duration will be reduced. There is a one principle. Then coming to the moisture, it's very important. Okay, it is for sterilization we are dealing with the moisture. Direct steam contact, that is the very main core part of steam sterilization. Okay, for example, in a simple way, how to tell us? For example, if you are taking bath, what we are doing inside the bathroom, and then we are taking full shower. Okay, then after that we are coming. If the full shower is not there, my one hand is just not touching the one body part, is not touching my water. Is our bathing is 100% perfect? Perfect? No. The same way, all instruments we are putting into the steam sterilizer, it's supposed to be fully wet, literally. Okay, then only the sterilization will be proper. Okay, here there will be a one physics. Normally, water will boils at what temperature? 100 degrees. Okay, okay. We are operating a 121, 134. In this state, what will be the water? It will be in the water or in the steam. Understand my point? You are not understanding. Actually, in normal atmospheric pressure, the boiling point, water will be become a steam at 100 degrees Celsius. Am I right? Okay. We are operating a sterilizer at 121, 134. Okay. At this temperature, what will be the state of steam? Is in the water state or in the vapor state?
It is in moist form, basically.
Huh?
It is in moist form. So it is not exactly the dry steam, it is a moist steam.
Yeah. Here also moist steam, even for boiling also moist steam. See here, one point is at normal 100 degrees Celsius, water will boil. If it is a pressurized chamber, the boiling point will be very high. For example, under pressure, see boiling point is 159. The same time, under vacuum, the boiling point is 37. You got the point? So, inside the steam chamber, it is under pressurized. Okay, even at 121, 134, it will be a steam will be in the condensation form. But the temperature may be a 134, 121, but it is in the moisture, that it will be a hot water, water film. That's supposed to be the sterilizing. For sterilization, that is the needed. That one point just I want to. Because of lack of time, I am just going little. Air removal, I already told. Drying time. Okay, recently we procured sterilization containers in our hospital. What happened? We are getting a full moisture inside. What is the problem? problem is in our sterilization containers or our process or sterilization? What is the problem in that? Vacuum pump? Actually, we changed it because I told you previously, under vacuum, after sterilization time, we are giving drying time and then finally we are giving a vacuum. So, usually after sterilization under pressure, okay, after end of the sterilization, we are normalizing the pressure, but in the atmosphere and then inside. So, at the time, the temperature inside will be 134 or 121. If the pressure is normalized, what will happen? The water molecule will boil again because temperature is 131, 134. At normal pressure, again it will boil. So, it will come out. Then remaining some fluids is there, give you a proper vacuum, it will at 37 degrees Celsius also, it will boil and go. So, the one key message is, we are normal water, we are making a steam. Then in the steam, it's going to the pressurized chamber. During this, in this, steam is converted again, condensation, it's converted into water. After sterilization, while pressure is normalized, again the water is boiling into steam and then going out. So, this is the basic mechanism of steam sterilization. That's why the principle is, for how long we are using, it's a standard one. Okay. I think you got the point. I think so. Okay. This is the sterilization principle. So, every step is be very important one. Okay. So, this is I will go to, just I will touch 2 minutes, I will finish it. For ETO, there is a different mechanism of alkalization. It's not a, the steam sterilization is a coagulation, okay, killing the organism. But here is a alkalizing agent, okay. It's a different one. I'm not going to deep into that. See the diagram, actually it's a different principle, because of time I'm not able to cover. For plasma, you know, it's a solid, liquid, gas, and then plasma stage is there. That is the key role of plasma sterilizer. Okay, it's a different one. It's a process, because of time not there. I'm just concluding it. Your take home message is, it's not depending upon the steam or ETO or plasma. What material supposed to go by which sterilization method is the key factor here. Okay, that is the one take home message. Okay, I thank you all because for opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yes.
First of all, I know we've had a lot of speeches this morning, but just wanted to say from Mesa and more importantly from Joachim and myself, thank you very much for inviting us to this event. And we've had a really, really good week this week. So this is our fifth event that we've been to. So it's an absolute privilege to be here. So my role is basically just to introduce who we are. There we go. So, as I say, my name's Chris Bird. I am the channel sales manager for Mesa. So my responsibility is that I look after two divisions within the business. So basically what that means is there's two different product groups. So Mesa is the parent company, and we have Mesa products. And we also have, which we're going to talk about, is GK, and the whole event will be about GKE. So I have two specific roles, but the same thing is throughout all our discussions is to promote as much as we can where GKE is. So who are Mesa Labs? So Mesa Labs is a NASDAQ listed company. We have more than 700 employees worldwide, and our main headquarters are in Denver, Colorado. So who are we, Mesa Labs? So in 2017, we purchased a company called Simicon, who produced product in Munich, and we will be covering in depth some of the Munich products as well. What I would say as well, when we purchased in 2017 Simicon, Mesa Labs just allowed Simicon to produce their products, but more importantly, they were just left alone to continue to do what they do. And primarily, they were working with end users. So in 2023 was the purchase of GKE GmbH. So that's a facility based in Waldums with a long history of producing product. And in 2024 was the big merger of the two product lines, Simicon and GKE. And you'll see, if you have a look at our catalogs, you'll see that the products are fully integrated now. So, Mesa Germany became 2024 as the merger. So that's who we are now. Instead of GKE GmbH, we are Mesa Germany. And in that Mesa Germany, we have those two product lines. So, Mesa Labs. Mesa Labs manufactures and sells all these different products. These are all separate divisions within the business. So we have GKE, which is SDC Healthcare, which basically means sterilization, disinfection, and cleaning. We have Gyrus Protein Technologies, biomedical development. We have Agena Bioscience, clinical genomics. Then we have Mesa Labs, SDC, life sciences and calibration solutions. So this is Mesa Germany, Waldums, Germany, near Frankfurt. We have our Munich facility, again, still in Germany, which is both product lines. Simicon is in Munich and Waldums is GKE. And we manufacture all our GKE branded products, all in Germany. We have, and I'll cover this briefly, and Joachim will cover this in more depth, but one of our activities from Mesa Germany, Waldums. So we are services and products, and design of cleaning, disinfection, and sterilization processes. And in that, we have process design of processes. Validation of reprocessing processes, and routine monitoring of reprocessing processes. So that's what we do. So that's my little introduction to who we are. Joachim will go into product in a little bit more depth, but if there's any questions during breakout times, lunch or tea, let me know. I'm more than happy to discuss what we do, but I can say thank you very much for allowing me to be here today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joachim Metzing, and I'd like to say thank you to Chris for the short introduction, and I'd like most and for all say thank you to you. This first lecture, it was just great to get into so much interaction and dialogue with all of you. What a wonderful group we are today. Wonderful. And let's have a good time for the rest of the day as well, and I think we will have. We have made a lot of discussion before we came here what we want to cover today, because we have so much material to talk about at GKE, and we made a choice what to do. I hope we did a good choice. Before I start, I'd like to go back to this slide. Chris had said that I would go probably a little bit deeper in that. Not too deep, but just to give you an idea. What we do is, in Waldums, I'm a guy from this facility. What we do is see the three bullet points: design, validation, and monitoring. What does that mean? It's so easy to say that, but what does that mean? Okay, the first thing would be design of a process, of a cleaning process, of a disinfection process, of a sterilization process. What does that mean? I want to give you an example. When you have a wonderful machine for reprocessing, for example, a washer disinfector for surgical instruments, you probably have one. Why not? Then you can use it. Very good machine. And now you have a medical device that you want to wash. Let's take a flexible endoscope. A wonderful medical device. You can use it. And what happens when you put the flexible endoscope in the machine for surgical instruments? You have a process which does not work. And this is process design. So if you want to keep this example in order to understand it, just think about the producer of the washer disinfector who suddenly realizes that there are flexible endoscopes and they do not become clean in his machine. So he would develop a machine especially designed for endoscopes. This is what you can buy today, washer disinfector for endoscopes. And this is a typical example of process design. And in the perfect world, unfortunately, we do not live in the perfect world, but in the perfect world, process design for you would be that you have a whole bunch full of contaminated instruments. And now you're looking for the perfect machine for your purpose. So you invite all the producers of the machines and you let come Billy Maid and Gettinger and Miele and all of them, and you test these machines. Nobody can do that. But this would be product design. And then the next step would be that you invite all the manufacturers of cleaning detergents and test them with your very load. Again, nobody can do that, but that would be process design. And in the end, you will have a perfectly designed and adapted process for your purpose, for your very load. This is process design. Now, we provide this service and we do it, for example, for industry. When industry produces sterile single-use products, well, they have to produce them, which means they have to sterilize them. And then we have to find out a way how they can do this. And this is a typical example of process design, which we will provide for them. So now, for you to make you understand what that means when we say it, process design means find a good way for your very instruments. And then it becomes clear that you have probably a different equipment concerning machines, concerning chemicals, concerning procedures than the other hospital over there, because they have different instruments. And this is why we find so many different reprocessing processes in different hospitals. And this is a good thing, because all these hospitals do have different equipment. This is what process design means. Now, just imagine you had made a very nice process design and you would think, now I'm really happy with my process. Let's get an approval about that. Then you can call us and say, could you please drop by and have a look on our process if we get the good result? And we say, yes, we can do that. And what is it when we come and do an evaluation of your process? Validation. Validating a process means you go there and you check all the steps the process goes through, and then you give your approval when you are the validation guy. Yes, the way they work, they obtain the desired result. Perfect. This is validation. And when the validation technician leaves the house and he goes through the door, he should turn around and say, when I'm out of the door, do not dare to work differently tomorrow. And this is why we need the third thing, routine monitoring, to make sure that you have the same quality of your process today as you had yesterday. And now you see it makes sense. We make new processes, we adapt them, we design them. When there is a process, we can evaluate if it's a good process, if it will obtain the good results. And then we have the test systems. These are indicator-based to make sure that in everyday life, the quality of your process remains the same. So this is the very short precision or more explanation about these three things. Now, by the way, why do you think that validation of a process is obligatory in nearly every country worldwide? inviting somebody to see if a process obtains the good result. This is validation. Why is this obligatory? What do you think?
It's a process which one must do because whatever they are doing, their premises. They are doing their best. But whether it is as per the standards, as per the international standards, or as per the guidelines they are following or not, or maybe the process which they feel they are doing is correct, but actually it is not.
Yeah.
You from that each and every step.
This is quite close, but the guidelines, when you have guidelines, you can see, let's follow the guidelines. But my question would rather be, why did they write the guidelines? Why did they write the guidelines? Why is there somebody, a group of people sitting around a table and say, you know what, we have to write a guideline to make reprocessing the validation obligatory? What is the motivation to do this guideline? This is interesting, isn't it? And let me give you an example. Whenever the result of a process is critical concerning risk, and no doubt that sterilization is a big risk. If it fails, you have a problem. You need to have things sterilized. So whenever there's a risky process concerning the risk that would occur when you fail, then you have to make sure that the quality of the process is okay. You need to be sure that sterilization obtains the good result. Easy. So in other words, you have to do a quality control in the end of your process. And this is a normal thing. Let me give you an example. Imagine you would produce a car. A car has very many parts, very much equipment which is necessary for security reasons. For example, the light. Before you can sell the car, you must be sure the light is working well. What do you do as quality control before you sell the car? Well, you switch on the light and you check if it works. And if the light is in good state and the light will shine, then you can sell the car and the customer can be sure that it works because you checked it. No need to do validation. You only need to do quality control. The same car has an airbag in its steering wheel. Can you check it before you sell it? Where's the difference? If you do a quality control for the airbag, you destroy it. So whenever quality control can be done without destruction, nobody needs validation, but you simply have to do the quality control. But when your quality control destroys your product, hey, there's a problem. All the cars out there have an airbag, but not one single airbag has been tested. Still, we want to rely on it, that in case of an accident, it will function. And this is why the production of an airbag has to be validated. So there has to be somebody who goes into the company that produces the airbag, go through all the steps that they do to produce the airbag, all the components, all the standard operation procedures, all the things. And then he will write a report and say, okay, the way this company is producing the airbag, it works. But never change it without telling me. And this is, well, validation and routine monitoring. And sterilization is the very same. When you check your instrument, if it's sterilized, you can send it to a microbiological laboratory. They will open the pouch or open the container. They will find out if there are living organisms, and then they say, no, they are not. And then you'll get a letter and they say, congratulations, if you had used this instrument for surgery, it would have been sterile. But before you can use it now, you have to do the sterilization again, because during my laboratory testing, I had to open it and it's not sterile anymore. So quality testing of sterility destroys the sterility, and all instruments in the operation theater are not quality tested. And this is why the guidelines say you need to validate that. Just as the car manufacturer has to validate the production of the airbag, because you cannot check it, you cannot control the quality without destruction. This is interesting, or this is nice to understand the principle of validation. Now let's come to the topics that we want to cover today. And we made the decision that we want to go for 2 topics. Topic number 1 will be, I'll start now with that, will be biological indicators. I want to show you a little bit about biological indicators and all the properties of an indicator, because I think you use a lot of them in India, and it is useful to know all these things. And I want to show you how biological indicators are produced. And after that, we will go to another topic, to hydrogen peroxide. And, well, a little bit of a spoiler, we don't like it so much. And I'll just give you one bullet point for that. Details to come later. When your sterilizer with steam needs more steam, then the machine can simply blow more steam in it. You have as much steam as you need because you have a steam generator and it can blow it in. If you need more hydrogen peroxide, there's a cartridge, and when this cartridge is empty, it's over. So you have a great difference between these 2 cycles, but there are even more differences, and we will discuss it as number 2. Now, number 1, biological indicators. Let's go for sterility. What is sterility? Now, when you are in everyday language, you will probably say sterility means germ-free. And this is fine. I say it as well. We all say it like this, and it's okay. It is not scientifically correct because a scientist might say no fertile germs. So if a germ is alive but cannot replicate, it's also sterile, but hey, this is academic. For us, it's totally fine to say germ-free. Our goal is to have a number of germs, a quantity 0. This is what we want to have, 0 germs. And how do we do that? Well, we do not fight against their fertility, we simply kill them. This is our process, and this is fine. So our goal is 0. Now we have a problem. We have the problem that we can reduce the number of germs without limit, but we don't reach 0. How is it possible to have a process where you can go down without limit, but you do not arrive at 0? It's funny. But you can imagine very easily when you have, again, a stupid example from my side. I always like to have stupid examples to make things understandable. A typical process where you never reach 0, when you have a cake and you cut it in 2 halves, then you have half a cake. Now you can cut it again. Now you have a quarter. And if you cut it again, you have an 1/8. And you continue that, and you can always cut it in 2 identical halves, and then you go down to smaller slices. Well, there will be one moment where it's so thin that you cannot cut through it anymore. But when you calculate that mathematically, do you ever reach 0 when you always cut in 2 parts, when you always divide by 2? Never. You never reach 0 on your sheet of paper where you do the calculation. Because when you have a quantity which is bigger than 0, then half of it is also bigger than 0. You will never reach 0. But you can continue without limit. And this is a very typical process in nature. And this is what happens with killing of germs as well. It's very interesting. Now let's have a look on it. Let's imagine that we had a certain number of germs, and we have the unit for the germs, which is called CFU. CFU, you see it in the title here. Doesn't work. You see it on the left, in the left column in the title, CFU. CFU stands for colony forming unit. And this is one germ. Why does it, where comes this name from, colony forming unit? Well, one germ is invisible for your naked eye. But when you put this germ in a nice environment and provoke that this germ feels fine and starts to replicate, it will in a short time be quite many germs on one place, and this is called a colony, and this can be counted because it looks like this. Every red dot is a colony, a bunch full of germs. In the beginning, this had been one germ and you couldn't see it, but when you heat it and when you provide food, it will replicate, the number of germs goes up, and every dot means at this position had been one germ. Now I can see it because I've provoked this colony building. Okay, there we are. We call them CFU. And now let's suppose that we start with 100,000 germs. Time in the first line here is 0 minutes. We didn't start yet. And therefore we have 100,000 germs. Well, it could be simply an indicator that you buy because you know that you can buy biological indicators with 10 to the power of 5, which is 100,000. Okay, now you have found a process which is able to kill them. I don't care if it's steam or anything else, just let's imagine you have found a process that kills them. And you start the process, and after some time you interrupt and you count how many are left. Okay, let's start. And let's assume you go for 2 minutes, you interrupt, and then you count. It's no big issue for microbiologists. And maybe they find now 10,000 are left after 2 minutes, which is an example. Maybe it takes only 1 minute or 3 minutes, simply to calculate with easy to handle numbers. Let's assume it's 2 minutes. Okay, now you have killed 90,000. Now you have killed 90,000 germs in 2 minutes. Okay, every normal person would think, well, if I can kill 90,000 in 2 minutes, the remaining 10,000 shouldn't be the problem, right? They are. Because if you continue another 2 minutes, you obtain the result 1,000. And this is remarkable because in the first instance, it was good enough to kill 90,000, and the second cycle will only kill 9,000. And this is to be continued. After 6 minutes, there are still 100 left. After 8 minutes, there's still 10 left. And after 10 minutes, you have 1 left. So what is this time for which is in every line? Every line means 2 additional minutes when you go in the next line. So what happens every 2 minutes? The population, the number of germs, is divided by 10. 90% will be killed, 10% survive. That's similar to your cake. With your cake, it's a division by 2 whenever you cut it through. Here, it's a division by 10. Every line means 1/10 of the population that I had before now are remaining. This time, which is necessary to kill 90%, is called d-value, what you already mentioned. And d-value means it's a decimal reduction, it's a division by 10. So in this example, you see it on the right, in the upper right corner. In this example, your biological indicator would have a d-value of 2 minutes. And this means, if it was steam, that in 121 degrees centigrade, every 2 minutes you divide the population by 10. Okay, now we have one germ left. And this is not sterile because there's still one living. And this last guy, we want to kill it. Okay, let's do another 2 minutes. And now there is again a division by again a division by 10. So now we do have 0.1 germs. A tenth of a germ. Is it alive or is it dead? What do you think? So when you make 10 slices out of a germ, is it alive? Each slice?
Yes.
It's strange, isn't it? I want to make it more complicated for you. To mix you up completely, I apply another d-value, and now I have 100th germ. Wow, now it's really small. Is it alive or is it dead? You see the difference? Up there with the real figures, you can count the germs. But when you have 1/10 or 100th of a germ, you cannot count that. And then we are not talking about a quantity anymore, but now we are talking about probabilities. This is the difference. Okay? So the upper part is real quantities. This is what we do in laboratory. So we interrupt and we count, and then we know the d-value. And down there, this is only calculation, and this is a probability. What does a probability of 1 divided by 10, what does it mean? Or 1 divided by 100? Let me explain it with you with this little picture. Imagine you had a CSSD and you have a very bad process, and you have 100 containers, and in every container is 1 germ. So bad job from your side, everything is contaminated. How big is the probability if I go into your storage room and I pick 1 container that I find a contaminated one? Well, I will find a contaminated one because all of these things are contaminated. So the probability is 1 try, 1 hit, 1 to 1. I can be sure I get 1. Okay, if I now want to make things better, I continue another d-value. Let's do that. Divide it by 10. And now you don't have 1/10 of a germ in this container, but now you have 90 containers sterile and 10 remain which are not sterile. And how big is the probability that I find one of these? 1 out of 10. Every 10th container is contaminated, so we are here. And if I apply another d-value, then we have 99 containers sterile, and only this one is non-sterile. So 1 out of 100 is non-sterile, 10 to the power of -2. Here you see what probability means. In the middle, it's 1 out of 10, 1/10, and down there is 1 out of 100, 100th. And if you want to write it, if I could make this slide much bigger, here you have a picture with 100 containers. If I could make this picture with 1 million containers, then I could explain to you what sterilization means. If you have 1 million containers, imagine that these were 1 million containers, and there's only 1 left which is non-sterile, then you were at the stage where you are allowed to call it sterile. 1 out of 1 million is okay, but not more. And we call it sterility assurance level 1 out of 1 million, which means 1 divided by 1 million, or you can write 10 to the power of minus 6, which is exactly the same. And when we go for our table, you see, we have to reach the bottom line before we are authorized to say it's sterile. Here we count in this area, and here we calculate. And down there is probability. Okay, now I want to make one thing clear, ladies and gentlemen. 99% of all users believe that the indicators that you can buy, and you can buy indicators with 10 to the power of 6 a population, that this would have something to do with the SAL of 10 to the power of minus 6. And here you see, it has nothing to do with it. This is a complete misunderstanding. And if you happened to belong to this group of people with this misunderstanding, forget it. It's completely wrong. And you find it also with many companies, even companies that produce biological indicators. There is this misunderstanding, oh, I've got an indicator 10 to the power of 6, and now it's that, I have 10 to the power of minus 6. Completely nonsense, stupid, wrong. It has nothing to do with that. So, if you want to have sterility, you have to go here. And if you start with 10 to the power of 5, well, these are 11 log, 11 times division by 10. If you start with the 10 to the power of 7, well, you have to do it. No. If you start here, it's always this level. And it has nothing to do with the population of the product that you buy. Okay? Do not forget that.
So, should we submit in that case, should the p-value be higher?
This is what is going to be discussed now, exactly. I will come to that. Because now we have talked about population, and now he is asking about the d-value. And the d-value, you remember it, is 2 minutes in our example. What happens when the d-value is different? And now let's talk about that. I want to make you familiar with these different terms. Now, what we already said is the d-value. It's the time necessary to reduce the population by 90%. In this example, 2 minutes. Every line going further means 2 minutes more of process.
Suppose the d-value is 2 minutes, that makes relation time.
Now, concerning your real sterilization time, if this was your cycle, we would find out, well, you could go for 22 minutes. But this is what we do in laboratory. We start with many germs because we want to count them. And then we know the d-value, and then we calculate how long you have to sterilize. And now you have the real process in the hospital. And you, please, do not start with 100,000 germs, but you do disinfection before you sterilize. And then you do not start here, but you start here, maybe with 10 germs or with 100, because you disinfected already. And then your whole table goes like this, and you reach here, and you're on the safe side. Okay, so we design the process coming from a big bioburden, and you in real life, please do disinfection prior to sterilization, so you don't start up there, but you start lower. And then you're even safer. Okay, now we know d-value, SAL, we also talked about. SAL would be the level of probability that you reach here. What else do we have? When you read the certificate of analysis of a biological indicator, you probably stumbled over the term survival time. What is the survival time? This is the time needed to sterilize down to 10 to the power of 2, which is 100 germs. So in this case, the survival time would be 6 minutes on your certificate. What does it mean? It means when you're higher than 100 mathematically, we have the experience that the result will be nearly always growth. When you sterilize to 10 or to 1, do not forget that biological indicators are not very precise. When you buy a 10 to the power of 6, 1 million of germs, how many germs do you really have? Well, maybe 800,000 or maybe 8.3 million. So it's not very exact. It's approximately this population. And therefore here the result is also approximately 10. Sometimes it's 50, sometimes it's already 0. So here we do not really know. But when you go up down to here, 100, well, higher than that, there's always growth. There, the indicator should still be alive. And then we have a similar thing, which is the kill time. And the kill time is the time necessary to reach 1 out of 10,000, 10 to the power of -4. In this example, 18 minutes. So higher than 10 to the power of 2, here it always grows. And here it always has no growth. And in between, sometimes like this, sometimes like that. This is provided for customers who want to do quality test of the biological indicator and don't have a laboratory. So kill time it is called because our experience says when we're lower than that, then it's in reality always no growth. And in a company that does not have a laboratory, they can carry out a test with survival time, and they want to have all the indicators still growing. They can carry out a test with kill time, and then all of them should be dead. And then they have a quite proper confirmation that the product is okay, that it has the properties as being declared on the certificate. Okay, next term, F bio value. This is the time needed to reduce the population to 1. And here in this example, it's 10 minutes. And this is the most important value for you, because this is called the total resistance. So here an example for an F bio value when you buy an indicator 10 to the power of 6 and a D value of 2 minutes. So this is the starting point. Every 2 minutes you go down by 90%. So after 12 minutes, you are there. F bio value is 12. By the way, this is very easy to calculate. You simply take this index and multiply it with the D value, and you have the F bio. 1 minute, what direction? So, no, this is for 2 minutes. Now let's go for another D value. This is what you ask for. Now let's imagine you buy a much cheaper bio indicator with a population of 10 to the power of 5. So you start one level lower. The indicator is much cheaper because it only has 100,000 germs and not 1 million. But it has a D value of 2.5. And now count how many minutes you need before you reach this. 12.5 minutes. And this indicator is not only cheaper, it's also higher resistance. And this is what you said. D value and population will do the resistance together. You can simply multiply the index and the D value, and you get the F bio value, and this tells you how resistant a bio indicator is. And do not go only for population. There are so many scientific papers that say we were able to reduce it by 7 log, and there is not one single remark about the D value. When the D value is 2 seconds, I'm not very impressed by 7 log, because it would say 2 times 7. Oh, wow, 14 seconds. Wow, this is a powerful process. Without the knowledge of the D value, all the population information is worthless.
F0 and F0.
F0 is the next one we're going to talk about, the next to the next one. So this is F-bio. This is the total resistance multiplication of these two things. They give you information about the total resistance of the product. Do not go only for high population. Do also go for high D-value, and then you can compare them. Next thing would be the Z-value. The Z-value is the change of temperature that you need to get a 10-fold different D-value. So in other words, we make it simple. In steam, we have the very comfortable situation that the Z-value is 10. And therefore, let me give you an example. 121 degrees, 15 minutes is identical with 10 degrees warmer and 1/10 of a time. You could sterilize with 131 at 1.5 minutes and you would fulfill all requirements. What do? We go even higher. We go to 134 and we go with 5 minutes. Our programs in real life are far more powerful than we need. And this is, hey guys, this is the reason why we are so fed up with discussions about temperature time. Oh, I have 4 minutes and you have 4.5 minutes and this indicator reacts to 3.5 minutes and this reacts to 5 minutes. We have much more time in our programs that we need. We don't need to negotiate about seconds. Forget about that. Temperature time is boring because we use in real life much more than we really need. This is really not the topic. And it's not worth to put effort in that. And here you see it very nicely. Due to the Z-value of 10, we can see that 10 degrees higher leads to programs which would be completely sufficient of simply 1.5 minutes. And if we go to 134, it's even shorter. I think you did the calculation in your slide. It would even be enough at 134 to do 0.9. Yeah? So the 3 degrees higher would even go down here with the time. Perfect. So temperature time is not an issue because our programs are so much bigger than necessary. This is a very nice message. And now the last term that I want to familiarize with is the F0 value. The F0 value is the kill performance of temperature time, the integral. That means that you have your holding time. So if you have a program of 134 degrees for 5 minutes, this is part of the F0. But then there is even much more F0, much more temperature impact because you have to include the temperature during your steam injections and fractionated vacuum. When it will heat up, it will not be immediately up there, but it will go down like this. So all this heating up has to be added, and all this going down has to be added. And in the end, you have a F0 value that is much bigger than the holding time of your cycle. Even that is bringing us to the safe side. This is F0. This is the temperature work carried out by your process. Okay, these are the terms that I want to make you familiar with. Why? Because they are given on every certificate. And second, many of you use them in everyday language. And third, if we are really truthful to ourselves, it's not always the case that we know what they mean. And this is why we have decided to give you this overview. So, conclusion, D value is the time needed to inactivate 90%. So this is the time necessary to reduce by 1 log. We like to say 1 log, 1 exponent down. The second thing, survival time and kill time. This is from going to all grow, when you're higher than 10 to the power of 2, to the situation where all are dead, when you're lower than 1 to 10,000. In between, sometimes yes, sometimes no, but up there you will have in real life always growth, and down there you will have in real life never growth. Do you give signal because of a question? No, you simply moved. No, everything's fine. The F-bio value is the total resistance based on population and d-value. We do this multiplication of the index and the d-value, makes biological indicators comparable. The Z-value is the temperature change that is necessary to get a 10-fold different d-value to make it, to get the same result 10 times faster or 10 times later. By the way, in steam, it's easy. 10 degrees centigrade means 10 times faster. In ethylene oxide, hydrogen peroxide, it's not that easy. But still, the method how to apply Z value is clear when you know that. And F0 value is the total impact of temperature. And you have to add all these temperature elements in your cycle, which is much more than holding time alone. And this makes it possible to compare different processes. By the way, this is also the reason why we have so often, and I can tell you it's about every 2 days, we have a call that they say, we take your indicator, it is declared to change color after, 3 minutes, and today my sterilizer stopped after 2 minutes holding time because of a power breakdown. And you know what? Your indicator was already changed color. And I say, yes, it's right. Because your F value is not only holding time, but all this other stuff is to be added. And the indicator is not measuring your holding time, but it's measuring the F0 value. And the F0 value is much bigger than only the holding time. Do not misuse an indicator as a clock. It's not for measuring temperature and time. An indicator is for measuring sterilization conditions at the place where you put it. And this is why an indicator has to be put at the most difficult place for sterilization, for sterility to be achieved. This is the job of an indicator. Temperature time is measured by the sterilizer itself. Read the printout. That's all. Okay, now I want to add information about how biological indicators are manufactured. Here we go. Biological indicators contain living organisms. You know that. These are our spores. But why do we use spores normally? Because we want to have a BI, so organisms that have higher resistance than the pathogenic germs. We want a BI to be more resistant than the things we fight against. And this is why we go for spores, because in most processes, spores are more resistant than the pathogenic germs. Small remark. In hydrogen peroxide, we're not sure about that. This is another point why we don't like it. Hydrogen peroxide kills organisms, no doubt about that. And when you have all other sterilization processes except hydrogen peroxide, you can say spores are more stable than our vegetative bacteria, the ones that we like to kill. But in hydrogen peroxide, it might be different. And so far, we do not agree about it scientifically. Discussion is going on. You certainly, all of you, know the pathogenic germ Staphylococcus aureus. You know that from the name of it? This is a germ, this is a pathogenic bacteria. It's very dangerous for us, but it's very easy to kill in steam. When you have a steam sterilizer over there and Staphylococcus aureus comes in and sees there's a sterilizer, it's already dead. very easy to kill. But Staphylococcus aureus is surrounded by a layer of a certain enzyme, which is catalase. And this enzyme is very common in nature to protect organisms against hydrogen peroxide. And this guy has a real strong shield of protection against hydrogen peroxide. You also had catalase when you were young, or you still have it when you are young. Some of you are young. And me, being a little bit older, I don't have catalase because nature switches it off when you become older. And you can see it here with the color of my hair. When I'm young, my hair has the original color, and when I become old, it will bleach, and this is the reaction of hydrogen peroxide in our environment. And since the level of catalase goes down when I become older, I will become gray. This is a very normal kind of protection against hydrogen peroxide in nature, and Staphylococcus aureus has a lot. And when you put this guy in a hydrogen peroxide sterilizer, the population is like this. It's stable. And after some time, when your program is long enough and the concentration is high enough, that this protective shield is cut open, then suddenly zoops, it goes down. And now tell me, a spore that goes down like this, or a vegetative bacteria that is stable and suddenly goes down like this, which one is more resistant? So far, nobody knows. And this is why we really dislike this process, because the BI that you use in everyday life, we don't even know if they are more resistant than the real germs that you want to kill. And this is why we recommend not to use it if there is an alternative method available. Go for steam whenever you can. And use hydrogen peroxide only when necessary, if steam would destroy your instruments. It's no good idea to put everything in hydrogen peroxide because we're not too sure about it. Okay, in all processes except hydrogen peroxide, spores are more resistant. Therefore, we want to have spores. Now, what are spores? Everything starts with vegetative bacteria. Vegetative bacteria is easy to kill. It requires food. It will eat the food. It will go to toilet. This is why you have something here. And it will divide. So one germ will become two germs every 10 or 20 minutes. As long as there is a nice temperature and as long as there is food available, this process of replication will occur, will take place. And this means whenever they divide in two, the number of germs will increase. And this is what we call growth. Growth does not mean they become bigger, but the number will grow. And this is the case here. When we take the food away, most of them will simply die, but some of them can become spores. They can become spores, and these are the ones which are interesting for us. So the first thing that we do is we grow a big number of vegetative bacteria. This is the beginning of our production of BI. This happens in a fermenter. In this vessel, we do have a liquid which contains a wonderful temperature and lots of food for the germs inside. They like it very much. They will replicate, and the population of vegetative bacteria inside here will grow. This is our raw material. So we grow the organisms that we need. Every producer does that. This is nothing secret. And now the second thing, when we are happy with the quantity we have, then we want to harvest it. And this is what we will do after that we have provoked sporulation. We want to have spores. Now, how do we make spores? As long as temperature is nice and food is available, they will simply go on replicating. And now we want to create spores, so we worsen the conditions, we downgrade the conditions for growth, we give them less food or no food, we apply a temperature which they don't like, and after some time they say, okay, the environment is now really not so nice anymore. You know what? I will become a spore and wait for better times to come. And this is called sporulation. And if you want to describe it like this, now they go to sleep. Okay, so we downgrade the living conditions, they will become spores. And now the next step would be that we use these spores for our indicators. And why? Because now they are very resistant. They do not have any biological activity. They do not require food anymore. They do not replicate. And they can live for thousands of years and wait for better times to come. If the conditions become better, they can become vegetative bacteria again. But as long as conditions are worse or bad, they will remain spores. This is a well-known thing. Just to give you an example, maybe you have read about it in the newspaper. In Siberia, there is just in this spring, there was a new illness for the reindeer, completely unknown illness. And we are sure today that this illness for the animals was a very normal thing maybe 50,000 years ago. But then, back then, the weather became colder and the ground started to freeze. And those bacteria that was provoking this illness thought, okay, it's not nice anymore, let's become spores. And that's what they did. And they survived in the frozen ground for thousands of years. And now it becomes warmer due to climate change. It will melt. And they say, hey, temperature is nicer. And they come out again. And this is what is in nature a very normal method to survive periods of time where living conditions are not so good. Now we have these spores, and we use the spores to produce our BI. So we put them in the products. You will find the spores on the indicator strips, on the discs. These discs are on the bottom of each SCBI, self-contained biological indicator. You can have them in suspension. Here the spores are inside of a little amount of ethanol, for example, or here in this ampoule, which is for monitoring of sterilization process of liquids. But in all these products, the spores are integrated. They are inoculated in these products. Okay, now you buy them, and the next step is you place them in your sterilizer and try to kill them. And after having done that, we want to see if a spore has survived. And this is called incubation. Incubation means you will re-establish nice conditions for them, which means give them something to eat and apply a nice temperature. And this is what the incubator does. So the liquid that you have here in the little vials is the food, and the temperature is the heating function of your incubator. And then if one spore has survived, it will return and become a vegetative bacteria. There we go, we call it germination. So, make spores, try to kill them. If they're killed during incubation, nothing will happen because nobody is alive. If one is alive, this will germinate and you will have vegetative bacteria again after incubation. How do you find out if you have any vegetative bacteria? Well, you need their toilet. Because when they have metabolism and they eat food, they will release afterwards acid. And this acid provokes a color change on a pH basis. Very simple technology. This is the color change that you get in the incubator. Okay, now we're done with that. And now there's one question. If you want to get an incubation result, you have to go through these 3 steps. You have to provoke the germination of your spore, incubation. You have to wait until this spore becomes a bigger number, because one spore cannot be detected. You have to wait for replication, that you have a nice bunch full of germs. And then you have to wait that color change takes place due to change of pH value. And this justifies the question, hey, how long does it take? And there's the question. How long does it take from here to here? And there's a scientific paper about it, published in 2010. And you see the title, Understanding Biological Grow-out Times. And what they did in this study, they simply took 100 BI and incubated them. And they took record of how long it took. And the central table in this publication is this one. And every line is one experiment. Let's go for the first line, and I'll show you how it reads. The first line, it's a little bit difficult to see because the screen is not too big, so I read it. Here it is at 10 to the power of 5. So they start with a population of 10 to the power of 5. They are live. In other words, this is a non-sterilized BI. They take 100 of these BIs and they incubate, and they record how long it takes before you see an incubation result. And here you see the result, the first growth result that you get in your incubator, 2 hours 60. Then you see that half of them will grow after 3 hours 15, and the last one grows after 4 hours and 33. 4.5 hours before all 100 BI show growth. Quite long, isn't it? Now, this is a non-sterilized BI. In reality, you have sterilized the BI, and in reality, you do not start with 100,000, but you have killed many of them, and only a few are left. And this is, for example, the second line. Here they have used about 300 germs, 300 spores, living spores, 100 of them, and they incubated them. The first growth result was after 2 hours 53, and it took 7 hours and 14 minutes before all 100 were growing. And then they have made an experiment they created in laboratory situation where they have really one spore only. This is the last line. 100 BIs, and each BI carries one living spore. And now you see the first growth was after 5 hours and 20 minutes, and the last one after 18 hours and 40 minutes. These are incubation times. These are incubation times. In real life, it can even take several days. Why? Because a spore can have 3 different status. It can be alive, it can be dead, and it can be in between. It can be damaged. And spores can repair themselves, and this takes several days, and then they start to grow. And this is why in pharmaceutical industry, it is given by law that they have to incubate for 7 days to find every, and this is what they call them, late outgrower. It can last for several days. I don't know who was first. Start.
This can't be load release criteria.
No, you cannot release your load after 7 days. Right. This is simply the sign to.
Half weeks is immediate results of the
This is what we're going to discuss, right? We come to that.
The my question is, the what's for the max time is 18 hours.
No, this was only in this experiment. It can last several days.
Not previous slide. I'm asking you.
Yes.
This one score, if it is after 18 hours, there is a growth. If it is 10 to the power of -2 or 10 to the power of -3, not that 10 to the power of -6. In this paper, can you study?
No. Misunderstanding from your side. When you have a 10 to the power of -2 or 10 to the power of -5 or whatever, the probability that they are dead is 1 to 100,000. But if you have growth, then it's one spore. Then forget about 10 to the power of minus whatsoever. It's simply one spore. And then this line applies. Okay? So when you have 10 to the power of -4, it means statistically every 1,000 cycles you will have this result. But this result is not 10 to the power of -4, but it is 1, because every 1,000 cycles you get one survivor. Okay, so growth is only possible with living germs, and this is a number bigger than 0. At least 1 or higher, but not lower. You see? Thank you. Grow out can last many days if they are damaged. And why is it so long? Because when a organism replicates, this is a copy-paste process. All the genetic material has to be copied, and this is called DNA polymerase. And I can tell you, those scientists and researchers that are in genetic modification issues, they have tried very hard to accelerate that, and it doesn't work. So if you want to do incubation, you cannot make it faster. It takes this time to copy genetic information. You cannot accelerate that. And this leads to the situation, and this refers to what you said, every result that you obtain earlier is no incubation. And this is important for you to know, because you know that in the market, there are many guys who want to tell you, I have a quick incubation. No, these guys do not have a quick incubation. They want you to believe that the quick result was an incubation, but it isn't. And you can find it when you read the documents from these companies properly. Here is a quote from one of these documents. They call it reading. And here, how does this quick result function? They analyze if enzymes on the surface of the spores are still active. And if this activity is still there, it's very likely that the spore is alive. And if this activity is not there, it's very likely that the spore is dead. But it's simply the analysis of the presence of an enzyme. And here is the quote. It says, in a data sheet of a reader, the medium, this is the liquid, will produce fluorescent response detected by the automatic reader if enzyme is present. Yes, this is a very quick result, for example, 20 minutes in this example. And then the sentence goes on. And a pH color change if continued incubation leads to growth, and this takes 24 hours. The quick readout result is a prediction by analyzing if enzyme is present, and the real incubation result takes 24 hours. Do not misunderstand it. This is a good technology, but it's no incubation. And when you use it, feel free to use it. As I said, it's a good one, but please do not tell anybody I have a quick incubation, because everybody who knows will laugh at you. It is no incubation. Incubation needs several hours. So the rapid or quick result is a good technology, but no incubation. And you find it in the products. Just some examples. Here you have 1 hour's rapid auto reader. And in the text it says, fast biological indicator can be cultivated 24 hours to confirm the result. Right. You get a readout result, which is a prediction, and an incubation result after 24 hours. Here you have, this is really a little bit masked. Auto reader for incubation and readout. They use the two terms and they think this thing is done, and they like you to misunderstand it. And this is very nice. Here you have steam 20 minutes, and then it says validation. Keep the BI 48 hours to get incubation result. Reading and incubation are two different things. Reading is a good thing, but it is no incubation. There is one certain thing with this reading. The enzymes are destroyed at high temperatures. And when you provide 134 degrees centigrade, the spores are destroyed very quickly, and the enzymes are more stable. And then the enzyme and its activity is a good prediction if the spore is alive or dead. In 121 degrees centigrade, the BI is rather stable. It takes more time to kill the spores. And then the enzyme destruction and the spore killing, it's nearly identical. And this is why you get not this technology for 121. They're working on it. They have applied for 2 patents to solve the problem. They try to make it work. So far, this technology is only available for 134. If you should have 134 indicators, quick or rapid indicators, do not place them in 121. And I say this because I know very well that this is quite often done. Do not do that. This is really a little bit dangerous. 134 quick or rapid readout is available, yes, but not for 121. It only is available for 134, and there it's a good technology, right? Now we go for a different option. We predict the incubation result with a chemical indicator. For us, we go simply in the text of the standard of chemical indicators, and this standard tells you about a type 5 indicator. This quote, the SV, the stated value, temperature time, the SV of a type 5 indicator is generated to be equivalent or to exceed the performance of a biological indicator. Hey, the standard says if you have a type 5 indicator, it's automatically more demanding than a biological one. And so it's simple to understand that you use the CI result to predict the BI result. This is normal. And this is common in the market. You can even buy this. You can buy combination packs where a type 5 and a BI is put together at the same setting, and the type 5 is predicting the result of the BI. This is common technology, and we simply put it together in one product, which looks like this. We have the CI inside of the vial, and here is the BI at the bottom. And if this has a perfect color change, then you can be sure that these guys are dead. And if the color change is not perfect, here you see it's, well, on the distance it seems to be black. It is not when you're closer. It is not by far black. And then it might be that you have growth. Just to give you a little bit of data for these indicators, if you have a biological indicator with a standard D value in steam, it would have 20 seconds that it has to survive in 134, and after 1 minute it has to be dead. This is the requirement. And a type 5 has to survive more than 2.5 minutes, and then it is allowed to start its color change. So the first moment where type 5 starts its color change, the BI is dead for a long time. And this is why this technology is also a very nice thing. This will predict you if incubation result will be good or bad. So you can release with this result. And if your local legislation says you need to have a biological indicator, well, carry out the incubation for 24 hours and provide the incubation result the day after without time pressure, because yesterday you could already release the batch. We have many users who say, okay, if the CI is so reliable, why do we need to have BI? Our answer is, you don't need it. In Europe, we have no BI in hospitals anymore. We work with CI only because the color change is more demanding than the BI killing. If you have in your local country the legislation that you have to prove lethality, the ability to kill germs, then this is the possibility to have both instant release with the chemical indicator and growth or non-growth result afterwards. If this is not necessary in your country, you can go for a product with chemical indicator only. And there is one thing or two things are different to the quick technology. First of all, you get the result immediately. You simply look at it with your eyes. You don't need a reading device. And a reading device is quite expensive. So this is an advantage. There is one disadvantage. Your reading device will give data which is inserted in the IT system automatically. This is not the case here. So if you have this one and you see the result, you have to type it in or you have to click in a checkbox or whatever. So it's an advantage and a disadvantage. But a certain advantage in any case is you also get this product for 121. Okay, these are the two methods of prediction of the incubation result. Both methods are very good. You to decide which one fits better into your procedures, into your processes. And for you, the information, both predictions are no incubation. And let me tell you, and then I close this, the story from the last Arab Health when I was in Dubai this January. I had 6 or 7 dialogues which were all the same. Somebody came to our booth and asked, do you have biological indicators? Yes, I have. How long is incubation time? And I said, well, like with every biological indicator, 24 hours. No, ours is 20 minutes. My answer, no, then it's no incubation. It is, it isn't. And then we were in this discussion. And they heard for the first time that the quick result is no incubation. And this is what you have to know. You can use it, but please don't believe that this was a biological result. But it's okay. But it's not okay to keep you non-informed by the guys who want to sell it and make you believe that you got a quick incubation. Okay, these were my slides to this topic. Any more questions from your side?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Sir, but I believe that 90% the result which we get in the rapid one is almost the same.
90% are the same that we get in which? In the rapid one. Now, this is normal. Now, we have very powerful sterilization processes, and this means that in most cases you get a satisfying result. This is just the case that we have good processes. We agree about that. But what you want to have, if you have every now and then, once in a year or whatever, a fail, You want to see it. And this is the job what the indicator has to do. And in this case, you have to have a reliable technology.
Also, I believe that in my 35 years career, I never found any time failing BI.
Failing BI, we found it quite often. But when you place it, when you put it in the chamber, throw it in or put it in a pouch, it will always pass. No, you have to put it at the worst case position, and we will talk about this later. Yes, and at the most difficult position, you will find fail results. I can promise. And if you have difficulty to find a fail result, ask Motivation. They can help you to create a test environment that you do not pass, and then you have a fail.
Sir,
Anything else?
you can continue to talk.
Okay. Anything else from your side? I know it's lots of information, but I think it's important information. And once again, and I repeat it again and again, it is not saying that this is a good, this is a bad product, but it's understanding existing products which are both very good. Both is a reliable technology. But you have to have this information in order to make up your mind which one would fit better in your cycle. Okay.
Still, we are the follower of the US FDA.
If you're the follower of the United States guidelines, okay, I understand that this might be the case, but I do not recommend it. Because the United States guidelines, and I can tell because our company, our German company, has been bought by an American company 1.5 years ago, and therefore all the things that I thought that we know more in Europe about the processes than the Americans do is now confirmed. And I've been in America twice to teach them, and I was astonished how low the knowledge is in the USA. And they have about the level of knowledge that we had in the 90s. And they are making things better now, but it takes time. It's not alarming, but it's simply a fact. Go for European standards. You will have a much more sophisticated catalog of requirements which make more sense. Okay, I just heard that we have a little bit more time before there is a lunch break, because we started, well, quite late with 11 o'clock, because today is Saturday. The lunch will be a little bit after 2 o'clock, so we have a little bit more time. Let's use the time for hydrogen peroxide. Then we have these two special things done, biological indicators and hydrogen peroxide. Here we go.
Yes.
When you want to tell somebody that you have a sterilizer which works with this technology, you probably will say, I do have a plasma sterilizer, right? I heard it in the discussion in the beginning. Quite often you use the term plasma sterilizer. Now, first of all, what is plasma? Plasma is the situation where all parts of a substance are electronically charged, like in a lightning during a thunderstorm. For a fraction of a second, here you have all full with plasma. And when this activated situation is over, then the plasma is gone. Everything is charged. And this is why plasma can be generated by applying a very strong electric field. This is what the machine manufacturers do in your machine if you have plasma phase in your machine. Okay. And you see in the title of this slide, how do we call it correctly? Hydrogen peroxide sterilizer or plasma sterilizer? The first hydrogen peroxide sterilizers were called plasma many years ago. And they said plasma was responsible for sterilizing. Attention, please. We know that plasma does not sterilize. Your plasma sterilizer isn't a plasma sterilizer. Plasma has no organism destroying effect. Okay? Still, the manufacturers kept on using the name, and they want you to keep on using the name because there was struggle with a patent. Another company had already applied for a patent for hydrogen peroxide sterilization, and if they would have said, we have a hydrogen peroxide sterilizer, they would have been fined for having used a patent that they do not own. And this is why they simply said, you know what, in our machine plasma is sterilizing, so we have no trouble with this other patent, which was, well, a good gag, a good marketing technique to avoid trouble with the patent office. But in fact, they simply told you a fairy tale in order to avoid patent trouble. And this is why they introduced the plasma term, and this is why it's still used in everyday language. But plasma does not sterilize. Oh, hydrogen peroxide is responsible for sterilization. Okay, and in some machines, there is even no plasma. Today, many manufacturers keep on creating plasma, but today they do not say anymore that this sterilizes, but they say they make plasma to break down residues of hydrogen peroxide, because this is something that you do not want to breathe when you breathe in, when you open the door. And you see here with manufacturer A, it says gas plasma. So when you make a plasma with strong electrical field, breaks down hydrogen peroxide, leaving only water and oxygen, and then you can open the door in safety. So it's only for, if you want, for detox. It's not for sterilizing. Sterilizing was before. And another manufacturer claims hydrogen peroxide is a powerful biocidal agent which breaks down naturally into water and oxygen without the need to create plasma. So you can also buy machines which do not do any plasma anymore. You will nevertheless call them plasma because this is everyday language. But here, even no detox, nothing, plasma is not there anymore. So the term plasma sterilizer is not really suitable. Still, it exists, and it's not dangerous to use it, but it's good to know the background of it. So you have different names. You can call it H2O2 sterilizer or hydrogen peroxide sterilizer. H2O2 is the chemical formula for hydrogen peroxide. This is okay. You can call it also, you find it sometimes VHPO, which stands for vaporized hydrogen peroxide, also okay. Or you can still go for plasma sterilizer, and this is incorrect from the technical point of view, but still in use in everyday language. All three are the same. And it's quite good to know that, not to be mixed up. But the correct one is the first and the second one. So now we know hydrogen peroxide sterilizers. We know that. It is being used to kill germs for many, many years. In the 1970s, there was the first machine on the market that used hydrogen peroxide for disinfection. And these are these nebulizers. You probably know them. These are the little machines that will make, it's no evaporation, but it's creating fog out of a liquid, a mixture of hydrogen peroxide and water. And then you have tiny little droplets that are so small that they do not fall down. And if you put a machine like this in this room and you switch it on, and then you you close all doors and you run out, and then it will create fumigation. It will create aerosols which are floating around in this room. And if you wait long enough, it will go down on every surface, and this will disinfect all surfaces that we have here. Very old technology, and it works. It is, for example, used in pharmaceutical industry to disinfect isolators, these glove boxes. They are always nebulized with hydrogen peroxide. And the producers of these machines back then, they already said, well, if we can disinfect, maybe we can also sterilize with it. Let's do a patent that nobody else can do it. And then somebody else did and had the idea we simply declare the plasma to be responsible, then we don't have patent issues. This is the story. Hydrogen peroxide is a very strong oxidizing agent. If you get into contact with it, your skin will become white. And if you get into contact with a very low amount of hydrogen peroxide over a long time, your hair will become gray. I don't have catalase anymore because I'm too old, and so hydrogen peroxide will make me gray. It dissociates into free radicals, whatever that is. Don't forget it. Don't think about it. We won't go into details with that. Simply have in the back of your mind that when it is gas, so when you evaporate it will contain some of these very active and aggressive free radicals, which are most likely responsible for the sterilizing effect. Still under discussion today, but this is something that we believe could be possible. And hydrogen peroxide breaks down into water and oxygen. The chemical reaction is this. And this will happen automatically if you simply wait. Or you can provoke it by generating a plasma. When you do a strong electrical field, this will happen immediately emitting light. This is a flash or the blue light that you see. This is provoking this reaction, accelerating this reaction. So, hydrogen peroxide is dangerous. When you have it in pure form, it will explode, and it can even be used by terrorists. And hydrogen peroxide is used when the NASA goes in space. It is the material that you use for rockets. So when this reaction takes place, the volume between this and this, the difference of volume is enormously big, and a tiny little volume becomes a huge volume, and this is in fact like an explosion. This is something you can see how powerful it is when you see a rocket going into space. You can also see how powerful a reaction like this is when you remember what happened in Beirut several years ago. There was in the harbor or in the port, you remember, there was a chemical reaction of some ingredient. And this reaction, it was no fire that took place, but it was a reaction which increased the volume of the substance enormously strong. And therefore, this increasing volume created a pressure, which was this shock wave which destroyed half the city. And this is about the same what happens here. Everybody who studied chemistry and has survived the explosion of a hydrogen peroxide experiment will tell you this is extremely powerful. And so it's dangerous, and this is why you always buy it mixed with water to get it underneath the level of explosion. So you always buy the cartridges with the concentration between water and hydrogen peroxide 60 to 40. If you go with a higher level of hydrogen peroxide, it's dangerous, okay? So you always buy these things. The reaction occurs automatically. So if you have pure hydrogen peroxide, it is enough to shake it a little bit and it will explode. And therefore we have to mix it with water. Now let's have a look on the process in a hydrogen peroxide sterilizer. Again, it's about pressure and time. And before we start, we have to take into consideration that this is a very strange field of manufacturing, because, very strange, all producers use different units, which is stupid, but this is the case. So American producers like to tell you that they measure the pressure in torr. The Asian producers prefer kilopascal, and the European producers go for millibar. But everything is identical, but you have to know the unit. Okay, so do not be mixed up. When we now go with millibar and you go home and in your CSSD you say, I'm not starting with 1013, but I'm starting with 760, then your machine probably will have torr as a unit. Okay, let's keep it with millibar. And now let's go through this process. When you switch on your machine, the first thing is that a vacuum pump will get out the air. So we go down and it's an air removal. It is sucked out. And this pressure goes down very deep, very deep. It reaches pressure lower than 1 millibar, which is extremely low. And this means, in fact, the chamber is literally empty. There is not hardly any molecules in it. Very, very low. Now, by the way, you cannot use this technology for steam, because when you have steam, this doesn't work due to the pressure of the gas. So this is, the first idea would be, why don't we use this for steam sterilizer? It is technically, unfortunately, impossible. But here we can use it. So we go down with this pressure extremely low. So you can think your chamber is empty, nearly like in space. There is no gas, no molecule, a little bit, but you can forget it. Okay, now we have a very low pressure. And now in this very low pressure, we inject a tiny little bit of our hydrogen peroxide solution. So here is the injection of hydrogen peroxide. And what happens when you put a liquid into a surrounding with no pressure? What happens? What happens when space station empties its toilet? I'm not kidding, this is what they do. They are simply inject or eject their toilet filling into space. What happens with this material when it comes into space where there is no gas and no pressure? It immediately evaporates. It becomes gas. Our water here is only liquid because we have 1 bar of atmospheric pressure. When we have a higher pressure, we need more energy to make vapor. When we have lower pressure on Mount Fuji, the energy is lower that we need to make steam. And when we are in space, we don't need no temperature at all. Water becomes steam because there is no pressure which holds it in the liquid phase. So when you inject a tiny little bit of liquid here in this very low pressure, this will evaporate immediately. And this is why you see in the curve that at this point, suddenly the pressure comes up a little bit because it creates a little cloud of gas. It doesn't go very high, but you inject a little bit of liquid, it becomes gas, so the pressure comes up, and this is the evaporation, and now you have a little bit of gas, hydrogen peroxide, gas, in your machine. Now you have a little cloud of hydrogen peroxide gas in your machine. And now they want this gas to be distributed evenly in your chamber. And in order to do that, they do a very simple thing, what you would do automatically as well. They blow in it in order to make it move around. And this is why the pressure goes up. They blow sterile air in it, and they hope that this air is distributing the gas evenly to all positions. And they call it diffusion. We don't call it diffusion because it does not really distribute the hydrogen peroxide everywhere, but it blows it to some position, and here you have it, and here you haven't it. It's rather a dilution. It's not really a diffusion. We'll see it later. Now we go down with our pressure again. We evacuate again and get everything out of the chamber. And just in case that there was still a little bit of hydrogen peroxide inside that we don't want to have when we open the door, at this moment they can generate plasma. So they will make an electrical field, and then the residue of the hydrogen peroxide will be burned away. Then you see this nice blue flame in order to break it down so it disappears. And then you do a venting, and then you're done. Cycle is over. So it's not so complicated. So these are the elements. Suck out very deeply the air, so nearly nothing is in. Inject a tiny little bit of liquid, it will evaporate. Blow it everywhere, you hope it will arrive everywhere. And then suck it out again, create plasma to burn down residues, and then do venting, open the chamber, and you are done. You will find a very similar graph in your machine as well. And with this little bit of information, now you know what it means. But your graph looks different because in most cases, you do not open the door, but the machine is still shut and simply starts from new and goes through the cycle a second time. And you will simply go through the same cycle once again. And then they open it here, so they do it twice, sometimes even 3 times. So it's not like in steam, the fractionated vacuum, that you out and injection, and it becomes better and better and better. No, they fulfill a complete cycle, and you could open the door, but they don't open the door. They simply start from 0 again. What are the advantages of this cycle? Well, there are certain advantages. Well, first of all, the sterilizing effect. Vaporized hydrogen peroxide does have sterilizing effect, no doubt about that. It does kill germs, and we know that. And probably the free radicals are responsible for this. But so far, we do not really know what is responsible for this effect. It works, but we do not know how. Imagine you bought a car and the engine was not accessible. It is sealed. It works, but you cannot get to the engine and you do not know how it works. It works, but I don't know how. This is what we do here. We don't know really how. And this is why the standardization is not yet complete. The standard that we have is not really satisfying. So, advantages. A big advantage, of course, it's very easy to install. You need a plug and a cable, and there you go. Then you have rather short cycles if you compare it to formaldehyde, for example. You have a very nice low temperature, so temperature-sensible items will survive. And in the end, the hydrogen peroxide will break down into oxygen and water. They are not dangerous, so when you open the door, it's very safe to use it. Okay, these are real advantages, no doubt about that. But there are certain disadvantages. Let's go through these ones. The first one is the economic one. This was already mentioned in our discussion in the beginning. We have a rather low price when you do a good negotiation, but you have a rather high price when you use it because the cartridges will be very costly and you have so many different technologies and they are not compatible. So you are married with the producer concerning the cartridges forever, and there is no possibility to get them for a better price because there is no alternative. They have you. But okay, this is a normal situation in the market. Another thing what is quite expensive is the package material, because you must never put paper in the machine. Never. And please do not use paper-based indicators in the machine. Do not put paper strips in it. Biological or chemical indicators on paper, no good idea. And this is why you need paper-free package material, for example, Tyvek or alternative products, which are pretty much the same, only have a different name. Tyvek is a brand name. So this is a little bit the economic question. Second, and this is probably the most important one, when the sterilization takes place, hydrogen peroxide will touch the surface of your instrument. The result will be that it breaks down in water and oxygen. Then a germ has died, but hydrogen peroxide is gone. And so the concentration of hydrogen peroxide goes down from the very first moment that you start the process. And there is one substance which goes up, this is water, because hydrogen peroxide breaks down in water and oxygen. So hydrogen peroxide, what you want, goes down, and water, which will reduce the reaction of hydrogen peroxide, goes up. So your cycle during the time of sterilization will lose quality when you apply it. And this is a catastrophe for us because we are the process technology guys, and a process which is not stable, but which goes down while it's working. Not very nice to use it. Here you see it. This will disappear, and this is to be created. This is necessary for sterilization, but it disappears. This will hinder sterilization, and it becomes small. And you buy a lot of water when you buy the cartridge, and then you create additional water, and so the process really loses performance during sterilization. Water is providing a protection around a hydrogen peroxide molecule. This prevents it from explosion, but this reduces also the sterilizing effect. And this is why this water is a real nuisance. And as I said, cartridges already contain water, and our chemical reaction produces water. Not really nice. What else do we have? Hydrogen peroxide is constantly consumed from the first moment. Sterilization performance decreases, and here is the consequence. The bigger the load, the more hydrogen peroxide do you need, and the higher the risk that the quantity that you put in with a cartridge is not enough. And then sterilization stops before you achieved your goal. It's a load-depending thing if it works or not. With a small load, it might work. With a big load, it might fail. What kind of process is that? It's really a little bit difficult. You can use it, but not in a do think about it. Do not say, okay, let's save money because this instrument will be maybe damaged by steam. I put it here, then no good idea. This is really something which should be taken with moderation. Okay? It's not just a process, it's a difficult process. Then we do have restrictions on materials. Some materials absorb hydrogen peroxide, not very nice. Hydrogen peroxide is a strong oxidant and could damage all materials which are destroyed by oxidation. We know this from ultrasound heads. Certain plastics break down the hydrogen peroxide, so it does not work, but it is provoked, the destruction is provoked by the plastic. Certain plastic materials are a real problem. And here is a wonderful thing, lovely. When you put a germ on glass, you can destroy it in hydrogen peroxide. When you put the germ on steel, it's also possible. It takes about twice as long. When you put it on Tyvek, it takes 4 times longer, about. And when you place it on aluminium, you cannot kill it at all. So the resistance of the organisms is different when they are on different materials. And now please tell me, how many different materials does an endoscope have? Do you think that the manufacturers have checked every single material that they have in their endoscope if it's a problem? No. They simply check that the endoscope is not destroyed by this machine. But if all the materials are good for hydrogen peroxide, no, the information is not really available. This is completely, unsolved problem. When you have a different material, you get a different killing effect. So it's not only about geometry and length and diameter and all these things, but it's also the material. So this is what I said before, the diffusion, the even distribution of the hydrogen peroxide that you want to obtain when you blow air in is not really working so nicely. So this part, here you have evaporation and then you blow in. And this is a quote from an email that I got last year from a technician, a French guy who made the comparison of the concentration of hydrogen peroxide inside of a container and outside. And this is what he wrote. The difference between concentration inside and outside is dramatic. And this shows that this distribution is not really homogeneous. And this is why we call it dilution, but not diffusion.
Okay, let's finish now.
Okay, just 2 slides. And we have restriction concerning hollow objects. The producer of the machines will give you information like this. This is from, the directions for use. They restrict length and diameter. Okay, nice, because this is really not very powerful in hydrogen peroxide. But they do not give you any information about the material. And I can tell you, penetration in a metal tube is a different issue than penetration in a silicone tube. It's not only length and diameter, but it's also the material. Okay, these are the things that we have with our hydrogen peroxide. We have the restrictions declared by the manufacturers. The absolute amount of hydrogen peroxide is limited. You cannot push new hydrogen peroxide in your chamber if you need it, because the cartridge will not contain any more, and the consumption starts immediately when you start the program. Okay, the topic about the standardization, we can talk about this after lunch and after the next presentation will be given by somebody else, but if I take over in the afternoon, I can do the last slides in this setting. But for you, please take home with you. Hydrogen peroxide is supposed to be an identical process like the other ones. It is made to sterilize, yes, but we do not really control it so far, and we do not have a satisfying validation standard so far, because there are certain things still missing with it. Use it, but please use it with responsibility. Do not throw goods in and say, it's just another sterilizer, and no matter if I put it here or here or here. No, this one is to be taken with, a little bit more responsibility. think about it. We know it sterilizes, but still we don't like the situation that we do not control the situation. So we had discussed before our lunch break those disadvantages. We talked about the price. We talked about the situation that the process loses performance during the holding time. We said that we have restrictions on the materials. And we said the diffusion is not really a diffusion, but it's rather a dilution. Low penetration performance has been discussed. And there is one thing that we discussed about during the break, and this is why I want to give you this additional information now without having it on the slide. Hydrogen peroxide sterilization does not work when you have protein residues on the surface. So if you have not perfectly well cleaned, your whole cycle is done, doesn't work. And this is really critical. We know it from our point of view, manufacturing biological indicators. If we want to provide biological indicators that you can inactivate, gentlemen, please be kind to the other ones in the public. If you want to provide biological indicators to be inactivated in hydrogen peroxide, we have to provide the indicators in a way that the spores are in one layer and they are next to each other and then do not pile up. Because when you have one spore covering another spore, the spore up there will die and the spore beneath does not die because it is protected by the dead spore over it. So it's really a little bit a problem. We talked about the restriction with the diameter, that the manufacturers tell you something about it, but they do not tell anything about the material. And we said that we do have these issues that hydrogen peroxide disappears over time. Its concentration goes down, the concentration of water goes up. And you know what? Hydrogen peroxide is water soluble. So when you increase the amount of water, a quite big quantity of hydrogen peroxide can be dissolved in the water, and you do not stop to produce new water because of this breakdown reaction. So we have several elements which lead to the degrading process throughout the program. Now about the validation. This is what we did not discuss before. This is going to be to make it complete. Now there is a certain homework we have to do before we can validate a process. It looks like complicated, it is easy. What are the preconditions before you can do a validation standard? Number one is we have to have a biological indicator. This biological indicator has to be tested concerning its d-value. And you know now what a d-value is. And when you want to find out the d-value, you need a test sterilizer. For these test sterilizers, we do have a standard, and we call them resistometer. And for hydrogen peroxide, there is still no resistometer. And this is why d-value determination is not done with a standardized method of testing, but every producer does it in the way he thinks would be best. And this is why you cannot compare the d-value of producer A with the BID value of producer P. Not so nice. The second thing, this d-value has to be compared with the d-value of your pathogenic germs using this machine. We don't have the machine, and so we did not yet compare our biological indicators with the pathogenic germs. And I told you this morning that we have doubts, because it might be that, for example, Staphylococcus aureus is more resistant than the spores. We don't know yet. So what we have to have is a biological indicator more demanding than the pathogenic germs. We have to have a standardized method of d-value testing. And in the end, when we have the biological indicator, we have to place the biological indicator at the most challenging position in the load. And unfortunately, we don't know where this position is, because it's not only a question of geometry and length and diameter, but it's also a question of material. And hey, these three pieces of homework have not been done yet. We have no test sterilizer, we have no biological reference indicator. We use Stereotomophilus, but not because it's a good germ, but because we simply don't have anything else. And we don't know where is the worst case position. And this is why we do not have a satisfying standard so far. Here we have it. Most challenging depends on geometry, material, and pre-treatment of the load, humidity. When you have very humid conditions in the packing zone, you have a different cycle than in an air-conditioned environment. So this would be our homework. This is not yet done. Now let's come to the standard. We do have a validation standard, ISO 22441. But when you look it up, you see it is an ISO, but it's no EN, no European standard. And the reason for it, that the European Committee for Normalization has declined to accept it, because the Europeans said all the conditions to make a validation standard are not fulfilled. So they say this ISO is not okay. And instead, they say the general validation standard is applied in Europe. This is the general validation standard, it's not this one. And this one says if you have not a specific validation standard, inoculate every medical device. Put spores in and see if you can reprocess it. And this is, of course, very big effort and very expensive. So, last part, let's have a look on process monitoring. It's always the same when you do process monitoring. You have two things that you have to monitor. The first thing is you would need to check if your process can kill germs. So you could use a biological indicator for this, in not knowing if it's the worst case indicator, but at least you see, yes, it kills something. And you have to see if you have a penetration of the sterilant. And, well, this is the question, does it reach a difficult place? We don't really know the worst case, but we can at least establish a difficult place. And this is why we used to do it in a way that we say, we can use the classical technology of the helix PCDs. You're probably familiar with these ones. And we have them in different lengths and diameter. And we can use them with chemical indicators, color change indicators. And if you place an indicator in every PCD and put it in one cycle, you might obtain a result like this. So you see, this is a perfect color change, and here's length and diameter. And this is not perfect. This is not so nice. Here you have not yet yellow color. And so this could be used, this method could be used to find out how much penetration performance you have. Not knowing if it's enough for your reload, but at least you get a method of measurement. And in daily life, you do not use 10 different PCDs in every cycle, but only one. And we recommend to go for maybe this one or this one. So the highest one, which is still perfectly changed color, maybe this number 3, I would propose this one in this very example for routine monitoring. Yes. If you had yellow color up to here, I would go for this one. So take the highest one, or in this list, the one that is the highest challenge, which means it is rather down there. The highest one, which is still changing color. This would give you information about penetration. And the Lethality would be a biological indicator. You could, for example, put the biological indicator in a Tyvek pouch and put it together with a helix in the cycle. So you get the information from the BI that it's killing germs and from the CI in the helix that is penetrating. Now here we have these standards. We are working on the standard for biological indicators. This is part 6 of these standards. And the document is drafted, but it is not yet adopted. We don't have a standard for biological indicators. It's a catastrophe that we use this cycle for more than 20 years. And still we don't have a biological indicator. We simply use some indicator. This is a standard. This is also a draft for the sterilizers. You know, from the steam sterilizer, when you have a sterilizer standard, the EN 285 says if you manufacture a steam sterilizer, a big one, this machine has to be able to pass a Bowie-Dick test. Everybody knows that. We try to put something similar in this standard. If you have a hydrogen peroxide sterilizer, it has to pass at least this or this or this or this test. Nothing. Because the manufacturers don't want to have a test which would make them comparable to their competitors. They love the situation not to have any test on the market. Wonderful for them. And this is, as I said before, this is the validation standard. And this means that we do have one, but it is adopted as ISO only. It is not approved by CEN, which is the European Standard Committee, because the Europeans say the homework which is necessary before you can even write such a standard is not done yet. We don't have a biological indicator and no resistometer. So let's do it, say it differently. If you wanted to make this standard, it would be necessary to have these two first. We have started from the wrong direction. We made a validation standard and the two preconditions are not fulfilled because they are not yet existing. Yes, it sterilizes. Yes, it's a fascinating technology. No, it's not easy to use, and it's not recommended simply to put things in and hope they come out properly sterile. Might be, but we don't know. Use it with care and responsibility. And if you can avoid to use it and the medical device can be put in steam, go for the steam. This is much safer, much more reliable, and easier to handle from your side. So these were the missing slides. Now I say thank you, and I will ask you to take over.
Thank you so much, sir.
You switch.